Home Assistant has a bit of a reputation for being intimidating. And to be fair, it's kind of earned that reputation over the years, but it's getting easier all the time and it's damn close to being ready for prime time. At the moment, the biggest hurdle is still just getting the thing installed, especially if you want to run it on your own hardware instead of buying a Raspberry Pi or a ready-made box. So let's sort it out. Today we're going to take a completely blank mini PC and get you all the way to a working smart home with Zigbee devices, a few integrations, the lot. So go grab a coffee, I'll get one too, and I'll get into it. Before we get started, I just want to point out these are not the instructions for installing on a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi installation is actually quite a bit simpler than this. This is instructions for a mini PC or any x86 PC. You're going to need a few things before you get started. Obviously you're going to need a mini PC. I'm using a Beelink 16GB SER5 for this, but any mini PC will do. Or you can even use an actual full-on computer if you want to, but bear in mind that will use more power. If you want something simpler, go for a Raspberry Pi. If you want something even simpler still, go for a Home Assistant Green, which comes with everything pre-installed. You literally just plug it in and it's good to go out of the box. You're also going to need a USB flash drive. I would go with at least an 8GB one. You're going to need an Ethernet cable. You can use Wi-Fi for your Home Assistant installation, but wired is more reliable and Home Assistant themselves do recommend it. You'll also need a monitor and a keyboard and mouse, but you'll only need those for the actual install part. Once everything's up and running, you can unplug it all and just do everything from the browser. You'll also need a Zigbee coordinator, which we're going to talk about a bit later on. Also, in order to get the operating system set up on your USB drive, you are going to need another computer. It could be a laptop or a desktop, Mac, Windows, it doesn't really matter, anything will do. I've put a link to all the kit in the description. I'd also recommend you download the Home Assistant companion app on your phone because we'll be using it later on. One thing before we start. Installing Home Assistant will completely wipe whatever is on the PC. So if yours came with Windows or you've already got anything on there that you need, back it up first, because once we do this, it's gone. You can run Home Assistant alongside another operating system using something called Docker, but that's out of scope for this tutorial. First thing we're going to need to do is we need to get an operating system on this pen drive. Because I'm on macOS, I'm going to use a piece of software called Balena Etcher, but if you're on Windows, there's another piece of software called Rufus. They're very, very similar, but I'm going to be showing you how to do it using Etcher. Plug your drive in, and the first thing you're going to do is download Ubuntu Desktop. Just go grab it from their website. Gonna steal a line from Network Truck. Coffee break. Depending on your internet connection speed, this might take a while. Then once it's downloaded, just open up Etcher, find your ISO, click open, select your USB drive, and then click flash. It'll ask you for your password. Don't worry about this is just your system password. It's only because it's writing something to a disk, so it needs to have permission. This process usually takes a few minutes. Definitely time for a new coffee. You'll also need an external keyboard and mouse just while you're setting things up. You don't need this once it's actually installed. You can do everything through the browser after that, but you will need it through the setup process. I use one of these. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's a REX9 because that's what's written on the front, but I'll pop a link in the description anyway. If you do a lot of systems work, a little device like this is really, really handy because it's battery powered, it's wireless, it comes with a little USB drive and a replaceable battery if you need one. And it's pretty cheap, if I remember correctly. If you don't do a lot of systems work though, you probably don't need it. Just plug in the keyboard and mouse from your existing computer and then plug it back in there when you're done. Don't spend money you don't have to. While we're waiting for Etcher to finish, let's get our mini PC set up. So obviously we're going to need a power plug. We're going to need the keyboard and mouse. Then we're going to need Ethernet. Don't plug in your Zigbee dongle yet. We're going to do that a bit later on. You'll also need to plug in your monitor at this point, but my monitor cable's not quite long enough. I'd have to have this off camera, so I'll plug it in a bit later. Would have been enough time for 2 coffees. That was more than a few minutes. Okay, we can close this. And I think it's ejected your disk automatically. It has, so we can pull this straight out, pop it in our machine. And I'm going to have to take this off camera now so I can actually plug it in. Now you're going to want to switch it on. Right, so this PC had Windows on in the past. Sometimes it can be a bit of a pain to actually get into the BIOS on these machines. So the trick is turn it off, turn it back on again, and keep tapping the delete key, the del key. Sometimes that key might be F1 or F8, so just try a different combination of keys. In fact, if you Google what your specific model's BIOS key is, it will tell you. Once you're in, you're going to want to go to boot mode, and then make sure that UEFI boot mode is enabled. And then because mine is choosing to go to the Windows disk first, I can either change the priority so it boots straight to the drive, or I can just do a boot override, which is what I'm going to do this time, because we're going to wipe the hard drive anyway. So that'll boot into the Ubuntu installer, but we don't want to install Ubuntu. So I need to explain why we're doing this. So you might be thinking, why are we installing Ubuntu? If you're using a Raspberry Pi, there is actually an image that you can download which just has Home Assistant OS on it and it works. For anything else, you have to try Ubuntu first. We're not installing Ubuntu, we're just using it to get into the operating system, and then we're going to download and then install Home Assistant using a recovery disk, which is a ridiculously convoluted way of doing it, and I don't know why Home Assistant do it this way, but don't worry, I'll run you through it. It's an annoying barrier to entry that I think they need to fix.
You have to fix it.
So select try Ubuntu. By the way, just click on all the defaults for the other things, you don't need to worry about them really. So then open Firefox, and then Google Home Assistant install. And then the one you want is the generic x86 64 one. By the way, this is the guide we're running through right now, so feel free to have this open in the background so you can use it for reference. It's quite handy. So scroll right down to installing method 1, and then you'll see download the image here. So then you click that, and then that will download. I've already downloaded it, so I won't do that again. Then you want to click on show apps, and then type disk. Click on disks. So then click on the main partition on the disk, which I believe is this one, and then click on the 3 dots, and then click on restore disk image. And then the image you want to restore is the HACS file you just downloaded. Okay, before you click start restoring, I just want to remind you this is going to wipe this machine. So make sure there's nothing on here that you don't want to save. Click start restoring and then restore. It'll ask you for authentication, but you haven't set up a password, you're just trying Ubuntu, so just click authenticate and it shouldn't ask you for anything. There are a few times where you might get errors here. These are usually caused by clicking on install Ubuntu instead of try Ubuntu. So go through, make sure you use try Ubuntu, but also the guide that we just are working through, they've got a few other troubleshooting tips there as well. So if you do get any other errors, check out that page and hopefully it'll be able to help you. If not, stick it in the comments or ask on the Discord and hopefully somebody will help you out there. Okay, now that's done, you want to turn your system off, remove your USB card, and now this is done, you've got Home Assistant installed. You don't need your keyboard and mouse or monitor plugged in anymore. All you need now is your power cable and your Ethernet cable. So reboot your device, and then everything from here on out is going to be in a browser. So the first thing you want to try is try to just do homeassistant.local:8123. That will probably work on your network. If that doesn't work, you're going to have to get your device's IP address from your router. I can't show you that unfortunately because all routers have different interfaces, but if you Google your router's name and how to find IP address, you should find it no problem. However, unless you have a very specific type of network, the homeassistant.local:8123, that should work fine. When you first come in, you'll probably see a little setup screen, which might take a little while to get going. What you're waiting for is Create My Smart Home, which we have right here. So click Create My Smart Home and start off with a user. Add your password. Be any password you want, but obviously make sure it's strong.
Keep it secret. Keep it secret.
Then set your address. I'm going to tell you where I live. Click Next. It's entirely up to you what you want to do here. So this will send information to Nabu Casa. They generally, as far as I can tell, they do just use it to improve the product, so it's up to you. I don't really mind sharing this sort of things with them, but you don't need it. This is certainly not. This is just to help them. This isn't to help you. And then it'll actually tell you what devices it's already found on your network, so you can use these to set them up straight away if you want to. So click Finish, and there you go. You've got your very, very first thing. And as you can see here, devices discovered, tend to add, and it will show you all of the devices that you can go through and add. I'm not going to set any of these up right now because all of these are a little bit fiddly to do, and that's not the purpose of this. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some areas and some zones. So this is actually really handy. This is how you do like rooms, localization, floors, that sort of thing. So it comes with living room, kitchen and bedroom straight away, but I'm going to create some floors. So I'm going to have ground floor, which is floor 0. I believe there is a G floor, there it is, and first floor. Now we can assign each of these rooms to a floor. Now we can go in and add some new areas. Areas are just rooms. So we'll have server room. Set server as an icon. And it is on the first floor. Create. That's not a good icon for Kitju, aren't they? I like that one. You can also create zones. So zones basically are just where you are. So this is the default zone. You can change the size. This used to be so difficult. You used to have to do this in code. So now you can set up zones. You can create a new zone to say work, for example, and then put it on the map. Let's pretend that we work at the best bench in town. Why not? Now if we look at our zones, got our home zone and our work zone, so now we can create automations between these zones, which is really, really handy. We're not going to do that today, but it's good to have in the future. Okay, now we've got our areas set up. We can go to devices and services, where we can plug in our Zigbee dongle. So this is the Sonoff Zigbee dongle E. This is the one I recommend because it's dirt cheap and it's a really, really, really good dongle. Quick word of advice: plug it into a USB extension cable and then plug that into the back of your machine. Don't plug it directly into your machine. The reason being is USB ports, especially USB 3, are quite noisy and they can interfere with the signal. Plus also, it gives you extra room to move things around. This is just an extension cable I'm using for this demo. I usually use this one because then I can position it anywhere I want in the room. That might be overkill for your needs though. So plug that into your device, and as soon as you plug it in, you should see it appear on the devices page. There we go. So now we can just click add and say yes we do. So click automatically. This just takes a few minutes. Now we'll call it our Sonoff CBE. And this is where we set up our areas first, you see. So now I can say that this lives in the server room. Click finish. Now we have a Zigbee network. Everything's actually up and running now. So now we're ready to pair our devices. So I'm going to start off with one of the old Zigbee buttons from IKEA. These are really, really easy to pair. Just put 2 AAA batteries in, and then I think you press this 4 times. But what we'll do before we put this in pairing mode, I'm going to click add devices via this device. Ignore that, there's obviously a Zigbee device on my network. It's in pairing mode somewhere, I have no idea what. We're going to do this one, so tap the button 4 times. So what it's doing now is it's interviewing the device, which basically means it's trying to figure out what the device actually is.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
And there we go, the device is ready to use. So now we can say this is my desk button, and it's in my office. And that's now added. That's good to go. Okay, our button is now paired. Right now there isn't a huge amount you can do with it. Let's set up a bulb. So this is one of the older IKEA Zigbee bulbs. The newer ones are matter bulbs, which won't work with our current setup because they require thread rather than Zigbee. Apparently there is a Zigbee mode on them, but it's kind of undocumented and they don't really like it. So I wouldn't bank on that working for very long. But any Zigbee bulb will work with this. The pairing process for each bulb is sometimes a little bit different. So Google your bulb and then add pairing process to the end, and that will tell you how to do it. For IKEA, it's pretty straightforward. You just turn it on and off a certain amount of times. I think it's like 8 times until it blinks basically. So this bulb's never been paired before, so this is actually working straight away. So now we can go to our settings. Back to Zigbee Home Automation. And there we go. It immediately detected it because somehow we were in pairing mode still. My bad. Click add it. We'll call it desk bulb. Put it in the office. Click update. And now we have a desk bulb and a desk button. So now we have 2 Zigbee devices paired. If we go to our overview tab and then click on office, you'll see the bulb, which we can control through Home Assistant. Fancy. But at the minute, the button doesn't do anything. We need to create an automation for that. If we go to settings and then click automations and scenes and then click create automation, we can do a few presets, but we're going to create a new automation from scratch. So we're going to say when device, and then we're going to select our button, and turn on is pressed. So if you look on here, there's 4 buttons. This is turn on, that's turn off, and then there's 2 other buttons as well. So when turn on is pressed, then trigger our desk bulb to turn on, and then we'll save. Turn on bulb. Save that. And then go back to our automations. We want to do a turn off bulb as well. So create automation. When device desk button turn off is pressed, then device desk bulb turn off. Click save. Turn off bulb. Click save. And now we have an automation. And this is just scratching the surface. There is so much you can do with Home Assistant. I'll stop doing that, sorry. These 2 devices are from IKEA, but it kind of doesn't matter where they're from. You can connect Wi-Fi devices, Zigbee, Thread, Bluetooth, the sky's the limit. If there's an integration for it either here or in the Home Assistant community store, you can run an integration. In fact, speaking of the Home Assistant community store, let's get that set up, shall we? So setting up Home Assistant community store, or HACS as it's also known, used to be really, really difficult, but the process is actually quite a lot easier now. So now you go to settings and then apps, and then click install app. And then you need to add a new repository. So go up here, click repositories, and it says you don't have any repositories configured, but if you go to the HACS website, hacs.xyz, and then just use this as the repository URL, put that in there, click add, and then close. And then all you need to do, I think it's HACS that you search for. There you go, search for HACS. Click install. Make sure it's set up to start on boot, and then click start. And then you go to log, and you're waiting for this line that says remember to restart Home Assistant before you configure it. Once you see that, it means everything's done. So you click on settings again, and then go to system, and then click the power button up here, and then click restart Home Assistant. Depending on the speed of your machine, this might take a minute or so. Okay, so this can be quite confusing because once you've actually set it up, nothing will change. So then what you need to do is you need to go to settings again, devices and services, add integration, and then add HACS. And then confirm all of this. I don't know why I'm not speaking here, but you're also going to need a GitHub account, which is free and easy to sign up for. I'll stick a link in the description. Confirm your session. And then authorize. The reason why you need to do that is because it's connecting to an external repository to go get devices. This doesn't mean it's cloud-based, it's still absolutely fine. It just has to go out to the internet to go get the resources that it wants as you're installing them. And there you go. Now you have HACS. So HACS, or Home Assistant Community Store, is exactly what it sounds like. Home Assistant has a ton of integrations, literally thousands, but it doesn't have integrations for everything. That's where HACS comes in. HACS is basically stuff that's not been officially approved by Home Assistant. The community have made them. Because it's community applications, these are kind of used at your own risk, but generally speaking, HACS is quite safe. The community is actually really, really good at vetting these things, so you're probably fine. So there are multiple ways to install Home Assistant. This is probably one of the best ways for beginners while still having all of the flexibility. This is actually the recommended way these days. The other ways you can do it are installing via Docker. However, if you do that, you won't have the supervisor, which is really, really powerful. I'm going to show you that now. So the way we installed the Home Assistant Community Store was through the Apps tab, and Apps lets you do a hell of a lot more. So if we go back to Apps, click on Install App, all of these things are applications that you can run inside Home Assistant. So a really, really good example of something you can install is Node-RED, which is my preferred way to do automations. It's super easy to use. You just click Install, Start on Boot, Show in Sidebar. So when you first set it up, if you click Start, it actually might not work. You need to go in and turn the SSL option off. Now, this is perfectly fine if your instance of Node-RED is not open to the internet. If it is, don't disable this setting. You're going to need to connect it through a different means. I'm not going to cover that in this tutorial, it's a bit too advanced for this. So go back to Info, then click Start, and then if you go to Node-RED on the side, you've now got your own instance of Node-RED. You can take a look at my What the Heck is Node-RED video if you want to know more about it. This is how I prefer to do automations myself, but there's nothing wrong with just using the regular Home Assistant one. I'm not going to go into a Node-RED tutorial, that's way beyond the scope of this. I'll probably do that in the future though. You don't actually have to use Home Assistant's built-in Zigbee functions in order to use Zigbee devices. There is another option called Zigbee to MQTT. I've done a What the Heck video on that, so you can check it out. I'll pop a link in the description. That's a more advanced way of using Zigbee. It's not necessarily better. ZHA is fine, but there are some devices that will work with Zigbee to MQTT, which for some reason don't work with ZHA. No idea why, I have no idea what the issue is, but if you do find you have difficulty with ZHA, you may eventually want to move on to Z2M, which is the short version of Zigbee to MQTT. You don't have to use the web interface to use Home Assistant. There is also a companion application, which hopefully you downloaded earlier on. Instructions are pretty much the same for iPhone or Android, but I'm going to show you the iPhone version. So you just click on the Home Assistant icon, connect to my Home Assistant. You will search for the instances on your network. Mine's Home 2. And then you just log in. And then it'll also add your phone as a device. You can actually use your phone for automations, which is really, really cool. It'll automatically use your phone for location tracking as well, assuming you enable it, of course. And now, you can control your smart home devices with your phone. There are a ton of integrations you can set up. So if you go to Devices and Services, All the ones that are in discovered, these are the smart home devices that it's found on your network already. So you might be surprised to find that you've already got quite a few things like any of your Apple TV devices, a lot of smart TVs, they can also connect directly to Home Assistant. Again, I'm not going to show you how to set them up here, but I will show you how to set up quite a simple integration. So there's quite a lot of internet-based ones. Obviously, these ones aren't local only, the internet-based ones, but they're quite handy. They're usually services. So the one I'm going to install right now is the Met Office app, which is the UK weather service application, which is really, really handy. You will need an API key for this, but this is actually a good example of how Home Assistant's documentation is fantastic. So whenever you see a little question mark in the corner, if you click on that, that will take you to the integrations documentation page on the Home Assistant website. So it will show you exactly what you need to do. So all we need to do is go to the Met Office website, the Data Hub website, click on register. And then for some reason it takes you to a login page. That's great UX Met Office. So click on register again, add your email address, give it all your personal details. Make sure you read through the privacy policy and terms and conditions. I totally have already, yeah. And if we go back to the integrations page, you can see we want to subscribe to site-specific global spot dataset. So if we go down here, site-specific global spot, click on subscribe. We want the free plan because we're not going to use enough of it to warrant anything else. Then agree, and then set your country. Whilst this is the UK Met Office, actually works internationally. By the way, the Met Office does ask for quite a lot of information. You don't have to use this integration for weather, there are others available. And copy your API key, go back to integrations, copy that in there, make sure your longitude and latitude is correct. You can usually get that from Google Maps, and click submit. And then you can set the area. I tend to just put things like this in either server room or I create an outside area for that sort of thing, but it doesn't really matter. You can also just not attach it to an area, that's not mandatory. And then you can see the weather. Handy. So there you go. You've now got Home Assistant running on your own hardware, a Zigbee coordinator talking to your devices, a few integrations set up, a mobile application, and everything runs locally, apart from those API-based ones. No cloud required. The real power of Home Assistant is in the automations. You can set a motion sensor to turn the lights on when you walk in, or get a notification on your phone when a door opens, but there's a whole other video for that one. Now you've got it all set up, this actually isn't that difficult to run. Home Assistant has had a reputation for a long time for being a power user option. It still is a power user option, but it's now got to a point where this is the hardest part. You've done the hard bit. Everything else after that is actually not that difficult, and actually not all that much different to the likes of like the Alexa app or Apple HomeKit. And this is all yours. You own this. They can't turn this off. They can't pull the rug from underneath you. They can't change the terms of services because everything on here is local. The only things that aren't local on here are the things that you have specifically chosen to allow access to the internet. If you want to know why I think that matters, check out my Importance of Local Control playlist right here. So if you liked this video and you found it useful, give us a like and hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Ta-ra!